Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Hailie and today I'm going to be sharing 20 books for you to read this October. In my little book stack, I have a little bit of everything. I have some romance options, witchy reads, thrillers, and some dark academia, so lots of options to choose from. Majority of these I have already read and I am vouching for these books, but I'm also going to share about 5 or 6 that are on my TBR for October. So sit down, relax, grab a snack because today we have a lot to get through, and I'm actually going to start off with what I got for my book of the month. By now, you guys already know how much I love book of the month. I have been a member for over a year now. I think I'm almost at my 1.5 year mark. There's just truly nothing more exciting to me than the very beginning of each month, going through all of the new book options to choose from, and then receiving this little blue guy in my mailbox. As a girl that reads a lot, I am always looking for new books and new authors to discover, and Book of the Month makes it so easy. They always strive to promote emerging authors, so I think that's really cool. They have definitely opened me up to a lot of books that I otherwise wouldn't have known about. So each month they actually curate a selection of like 5 or 7 different titles to choose from, and they offer insane deals on brand new hardcover copies. Oftentimes they even have new releases, so you're the first to get it with your Book of the Month box. And on top of their hardcover copies, they also added audiobooks. So if you're more of like an audiobook person, you can still join in on all of the fun. So let me show you which one I chose for my Book of the Month pick, because if you thought that it couldn't get better, you're wrong, because you can add up to 4 book add-ons. So I have my actual Book of the Month pick and then one of the add-ons that I decided to check out. It just seemed really nice for spooky season. This month I chose When I'm Dead by Hannah Morrissey, One Girl Murdered, Another One Missing, and a medical examiner desperately searching for the truth in the latest Black Harbor mystery by acclaimed author Hannah Morrissey. It sounds like this is definitely going to set the tone for October. I am a sucker for a good suspense thriller, and I just feel like this sounds so good. The add-on I chose, The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. This is actually a debut novel that explores the shields we build around our hearts to retain our own magic. This does definitely seem like it's going to be a sad one, so I will definitely keep you guys updated on my thoughts. I really want to do a reading vlog for October, so stay tuned for that. But the other books you can choose from for this month is Wellness by Nathan Hill, a literary fiction, The Leftover Woman by Jean Kwok, a contemporary fiction and thriller, Starling House by Alex E. Harlow. This one is actually a fantasy horror. The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young, magical realism and mystery, and The Unsettled by Ayanna Mathis. This one is a historical fiction. So lots of different genres to choose from. No matter what you're into, you'll always find something that you can enjoy. And in honor of spooky season, Book of the Month is actually running a very insane deal where you can sign up and get your first book for just $5 with the coupon code SPOOKY. So make sure to act upon it. A brand new hardcover for $5, you'd be silly not to. So I'll have the link to sign up down below. Check it out before you leave. But thank you, Book of the Month, for sponsoring today's video. I'm so excited to read these. So now let's get into what else you should read this month. I'm gonna start off with the 2 that I am currently reading. Final Girls by Riley Sager. Obviously, this just seemed perfect for October. Final Girls is what they refer to as the last woman standing in like a horror flick. And in this book, that is exactly what the main character of this book is. She is the final girl, the sole survivor of like basically a slasher film come to life. I'm not very far into this book at all yet. I'm only 38 pages in, chapter 5, and I am loving it so far. It's definitely putting me in the spooky mood. And then this one, this I actually got from last month's Book of the Month. So this is The Stranger Upstairs by Lisa M. Matlin. A gruesome history, a hostile neighborhood, a new owner a new owner with a shocking secret, Welcome to the Blackwood House. Same thing, not super far into this book, 33 pages, so similar. In this one, the main character is renovating a murder house. She wants to gut it, completely redo it, and then sell it for a profit. She's not scared of its gruesome history at all. She's just trying to make that money. But it also seems like you do have an unreliable narrator in the story, so I'm definitely excited to see where this one goes. This one is going to be fun, I already know. So those are my current reads. Next up, I have the St. Ambrose School for Girls by Jessica Ward. This is one that I did a reading vlog for last month, and it took me on such a wild ride. It was absolutely not what I expected going into this book, but I enjoyed it, and I think that the vibes of this book is really good for the season. It's kind of like a dark academia. It's a very slow burn thriller. You're kind of inside the main character's head as she deals with her mental illness. She kind of struggles with like bipolar disorder, OCD, depression, so there's a lot. This one kind of also has an unreliable narrator as well, because in certain parts of the book you're kind of in, like, she's in a manic state describing what is going on, and it's all just kind of like a hallucination. Also, the setting of this one is like a very old boarding school. The main character is like heavily bullied by the popular blonde girl, and although I feel like the ending of this one was predictable, I think that it was a fun one. But keep in mind, slow burn. This one is a must. The Only One Left by Hailie Sager. This, if you are familiar with the Lizzie Borden case, where she allegedly murdered her entire family, but when she was tried for it, there wasn't enough evidence and she just kind of was free to go. This is a spin on that case, but instead of Lizzie Borden, we have Lenora Hope. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope, stabbed her father with a knife, took her mother's happy life. It wasn't me, Lenora said, but she's the only one not dead. Same situation, the entire family was murdered, and immediately everyone's like, it was Lenora, she was the only person there, but there wasn't enough evidence to try her. So, 50 years later, Lenora is still up in this mansion at the top of the hill, or cliff, and the main character of this book is actually assigned to take care of Lenora Hope. She's a hired caretaker, kind of like her live-in nurse. So when Lenora is like, I want to tell you everything, the caregiver is like, all right, let's do this. So this book has so many twists and turns, like it does not stop. It was such a fun read. I loved this book. I thought it was very well executed and I highly recommend it. Next up, Hidden Pictures. This is by Jason Rakolvek. This book was a ride. This one also had a very twisty ending that I did not see coming. The main character of this book is actually fresh out of rehab and takes a job as a babysitter. And the little boy that she is babysitting loves to draw. He is never without his sketchbook. And all his drawings start out pretty normal. He's just a regular kid drawing rabbits and animals and whatever. But then things start to get a little weird, and what I love about this book is that you actually have the images to go through. So it starts off really cute. Aww. And I'm sorry, what is that? This book started to creep me out because the pictures like progressively get creepier and creepier. But of course, when the babysitter goes to the parents about her concerns, they kind of just brush it off like, you're out of rehab, you don't know what you're talking about, like you can't really be trusted. So she's kind of on her own. She's determined to decipher what these images mean, where they're really coming from, like what is going on here. And yeah, this one was fun. I went through this one very, very quickly. And like I said, I did not see the ending coming with this one. Let's hop into another one on my TBR. I did actually start this one like 16 pages in, and then I just was not feeling it right off the bat. I was like, this is not really what I want. I switched to romance. Now I'm fully in the mood for this, so I'm excited to pick it back up. It sounds really good. I love the cover, a little bit reminiscent of the St. Ambrose School for Girls, but instead of this one being a boarding school, it's just like a fancy chateau in Provence. So this book is actually about 4 friends that studied abroad together in France, but over time, like after school and everything, they stopped talking as much. So this is actually 20 years later. So they're not super close. They're kind of like, why are you inviting me to your grandma's fancy chateau. It becomes clear that each woman has a hidden reason for returning to the estate after all these years. Then, following a wild evening celebration, one of the girls is found brutally murdered. In the midst of this shocking crime, an Instagram pops up, revealing very intimate photos of these friends and threatening to expose more. As they race to uncover who the murderer is and who is now stalking them, the friends begin to suspect each other because the chateau houses many secrets, several worth killing for. So I think that this one will be really fun. It has a lot of really good reviews. Of course, I have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. This is one of my favorite thrillers and one that I always include in my spookier recommendation videos. I don't feel like this one is necessarily spooky-ooky, but it is thrilling and it keeps you on your toes. When Chloe Davis was 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small town. By the end of the summer, her father was the one that confessed to the crime. 20 years later, a teenage girl goes missing, and then another. And that terrifying summer all comes rushing back to her. Is she paranoid, seeing parallels from her past that aren't actually there? Or, for the second time in her life, is Chloe about to unmask a killer? I love Stacey Willingham's writing. I would also recommend checking out her other book, All the Dangerous Things. Both are really, really good. You can't go wrong. Next, I have A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one I have already read and loved, but it is part of a series. There are actually 2 other books, but I just picked up the second book, so this one is on my TBR for the month. Good Girl, Bad Blood. It's just an extension of this book. This one is so fun. It feels like you are the one solving a murder. You're the one like kind of putting all the puzzle pieces together. This is the story of an investigation turned obsession. A pretty and popular high school senior was murdered by her boyfriend, who then killed himself. And 5 years later, the main character of this book, Pip, sees how the tragedy still haunts her town. Pip is now a senior herself and decides to re-examine the closed case for her final project. But she soon discovers a trail of dark secrets that might actually prove that Sal, the boyfriend, is innocent. This one is a YA book. I can't wait to get into this one. Apparently the series gets a little bit more gruesome and like unhinged, so we'll see how it goes. I'm very, very excited, but I definitely recommend this book. Okay, let's go into romance. I think I have 2. One that I have read and then one on my TBR for the month. We'll start with this one, Love in the Time of Serial Killers. When I first read this one, I was a little bit turned off by the main character kind of not romanticizing serial killers, but there are people that make true crime their personality, and I feel like that is very weird. Like, these are real people with real lives. So the main character of this book is kind of like that. Like, she's very, very obsessed with true crime, and I've been there. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts and YouTube videos, so I'm very into true crime myself. But I don't know, I feel like there's a line. The main character of this book definitely crosses that line a little bit in my opinion, but she is fully convinced that her new neighbor is a serial killer. She's convinced that this man is up to something. She sees all the signs from her true crime podcast. She's like, something is up with this dude. But it is not long before she realizes that he is something far, far worse. He's a man that she might just be falling for. What is scarier than that? So I don't know, it just like mixes up the normal rom-com vibes. Good for the season for sure. And then this one, this is Not Your Ex's Hexes by April Asher. Love was never part of their arrangement. So this one is like a witchy rom-com, which are always fun for October. A one-night stand between a willful witch and a broody half-demon conjures an adventure that wouldn't be complete without several magical mishaps. So I'm excited to see what this one turns out to be. I was obviously drawn to the title because it reminded me of The Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. That one was also a fun October witchy rom-com read. That one was actually very spicy. So if you're looking for romance, witchy vibes, spice, you can check out that one as well. I didn't love that one as much. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was cute, it was good for the moment, but it wasn't like an all-time favorite of mine. So we'll see how this one compares. The stack is getting big. Then I have 2 from Lisa Jewell. This is her newer release. none of this is true. And this is actually a really cool format because you're kind of reading a podcast transcript that's like in present day. Then you also have the past events that kind of led to this podcast making of. Here you have a very unreliable narrator, but you also have two point of views. The person that is being interviewed for the podcast and then the podcaster. I flew through this book. It was so good and I could not really figure out what was going on, and then you get to the end and you're like, so what was going on? The other one from her, this is actually part of a series. There's actually one other book. This one is better than the second one for sure. You don't really need to read the second one, like you're not gonna miss out on much. This was so good. Could not put this down. Read it in a single day. I actually also read that one in a single day. This is The Family Upstairs. In this one, you have the main character who was adopted. She finds out on her, 25th birthday. She finally figures out who her birth parents are, and she also gets a little bit of inheritance to an old home. That old home is the abandoned mansion of her parents that were in a very strange cult-like situation and committed suicide in this home. Obviously, Libby is like determined to figure out what was going on in this home and who the heck are her parents. And she does a lot of digging on her own, trying to figure out what was going on here. Why did it end in such a weird way? Was this really a suicide? Was it a murder? And what she finds is just so wild. Definitely a quick read, a little bit of like a psychological thriller. We love some family drama. Another one on my TBR. Ninth House, of course. A tale of power, privilege, dark magic, and murder among the Ivy League elite. This was also on my fall TBR for last year, and I just never got around to it. This one is a little bit long. It's 450 pages, and I am so easily intimidated by books over like 350 pages. But I am determined to finish this one this time around because it just seems like one of those books that you gotta read, you know? Okay, these four are what is left on my TBR, and then this one is another one that I read that I think you should definitely read. The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This takes place when the main character is kind of house sitting. So she has like this huge house to herself, and she's just kind of trying to escape her thoughts. So she decides to just read. I felt fully validated with that because same sister. Anyway, she leaves a 1-star review on one of the author's books, and he starts an all-out battle with her in the comment section, like going back and forth. Then suddenly weird things start happening in this house, and she's convinced that this man has somehow found her, is stalking her, and is out to get her. This, oh my god, it had my heart racing. This was like an adrenaline pumping sort of book. The main character has a dog, and like, I don't know, when pets are involved, I'm just like, I'm so scared. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not read it and you decide to, you will know what I'm talking about, because I was like, please. Not the animals. So yeah, this was a crazy one, and you have like the point of view of the author that she left the review on, not like Taylor Adams. That one kind of takes place in like past tense, but you also have present tense of what the main character is actively going through, and it's very funny. I love this book. Okay, final four. This one is, I feel like this is hard to describe. This one was also on my TBR last year, and I did not end up getting to it, but this is like a witchy book, obviously. This is The House Witch by Kate Schickel. I don't think that this one is a thriller, and I don't really think that this is a romance either. The main character must use her rediscovered magic to defend her town, protect her marriage and her children, and reclaim her legacy. Is it too late to confront her own demons and become the woman she dreams of being? House Witch is a fantastic, clever women's fiction debut with a lot of heart and a touch of magic. If any of you have read this, please let me know your thoughts. A horror novel, Mother Thing by Ainsley Hogarth. Ralph and Abby move in with Ralph's mother. Abby hopes that it's just what her mother-in-law needs to finally connect. After a traumatic childhood, Abby is desperate for a mother figure, especially now that she and Ralph are trying to become parents themselves. But her mother-in-law is not at all interested in bonding with her. She is venomous and cruel, especially to Abby, and decides to make her life hell instead. So this one does sound like a funny horror novel. I don't know how like gruesome, if at all, it will be, but we'll see. I've definitely heard really good things about this book as well, and I love this cover so much. I think it's so cool. Okay, and I told you guys I am reading Final Girl, or is it Final Girls? Final Girls. But I also have the Final Girl support group by Grady Hendrix. I've only read one other book by Grady Hendrix and I did not like it. So I've been a little bit nervous to start this one, to be honest. In horror movies, the final girls are the ones left standing when the credits roll. They made it through the worst night of their lives, but what happens after? So that's kind of what's going on in that book right now, but this one is like characters from all the scary movies that we already know and love. We got the girlies from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, A Nightmare on Elm Street, even Scream. In this book, the main character is also a real-life final girl. For more than a decade, she's been meeting with 5 other final girls and their therapist in a support group for those that have endured the unthinkable. But then one of the women goes missing and they realize that one of their worst fears has come true. Someone has found out about their support group and is determined to pick them all off one by one. I hope that I enjoy this book because from the back it does sound really good. We will see. And lastly, I have Stephen King's newest, Holly. I could never let Holly Gibney go. She was supposed to be a walk-on character in Mr. Mercedes, and she just stole the book and stole my heart. Holly is all her. So Holly, the main character of this book, is also a reoccurring character in past Stephen King books. Readers have witnessed Holly's gradual transformation from a shy, but also brave and ethical recluse in Mr. Mercedes, to Bill Hodges' partner in Finders Keepers, to full-fledged, smart, and occasionally tough private detective in The Outsider. In King's new novel, Holly is all on her own and up against a pair of unimaginably depraved and brilliantly disguised adversaries. This is a big boy too, so obviously I'm scared. But it sounds good. I also love the cover of this one. That is finally my recommendations and TBR for October. Let me know if you guys have read any of these books and what you thought. I'd also love to know what is on your TBR for October, although I do not need to pick up any more books. I am easily persuaded, so let a girl know. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again very, very soon. Expect a reading vlog with a few of these. Bye guys!